The following segment is sponsored by Smith Injury Law and 300hurt.com.
Nobody ever imagines they would be involved in a car wreck, but it can happen to anyone. And the best thing we can do is prepare ahead of time. Know how to react if it happens too. Richard Smith of Smith Injury Law is always helping us navigate those things. Good morning.
Good morning, Margaret.
I know most of us buy the insurance that we're supposed to have, and we go on our way without wanting to pay attention to too much of that detail. But you've seen too many cases where people thought they had enough insurance, regretted not having more. So let's start with full coverage. That sounds like it covers it.
Yeah, that's like the word vice president or something of that nature. It doesn't really say anything. Most people think full coverage means that they have collision coverage and liability insurance. But what you really need to worry about in terms of accidents is to have adequate underinsured coverage, because most people purchase the minimum limits, which in South Carolina is $25,000 per person, $50,000 per occurrence. Okay, so if you're in an accident and there's a serious injury, you could run through that insurance coverage pretty quickly. So underinsured coverage is what protects you from somebody else who has the minimum limits or low coverage limits. And that's why you need as much of that as you can possibly get. So I've had clients before that have, $100,000, $200,000 in liability coverage, but did not purchase underinsured coverage. Very important.
Right. And, as you've said, liability coverage is mandatory, and not having enough of that really puts your personal assets at risk. At least if you drive safely, you're not going to cause a severe accident, or you're not likely to. What else do we need to consider?
Well, that's one of the main issues is most people who are responsible enough to buy large amounts of insurance need to understand that the only thing that protects you is underinsured. Mm-hmm. Liability just protects you from your actions, like you indicated. If you're at fault in the accident, the liability coverage protects you so that you don't get sued and have your personal assets at stake. But what happens when that drunk driver hits you and injures you, and they only have the $25,000 in limits? If you don't have any underinsured, that's likely all you're going to be able to get. So underinsured is very important. It's also very important to understand the stacking rules, and that's why a competent personal injury attorney is very important, because they're quite complicated. Whether you can stack different policies based on the number of vehicles that you have, etc. So you might think you only have like 50,000 in underinsured, but if you've got multiple vehicles, you may have more than that. So that's why it's very important to not just buy the right insurance, but also hire the right attorney who knows how to explain those coverages to you in case you have a serious accident.
All right. Well, but bottom line today, buy that underinsured coverage. It's not that expensive, and it's really worthwhile. You write about that and a lot of valuable information in your book, 10 Critical Mistakes to Avoid If You're Injured in a Car Wreck. Explain it to us why you wrote the book.
Because I kept seeing mistakes like this happen. I had a client one time who was a doctor who had like $200,000 or $250,000 in liability coverage, and had $25,000 in underinsured. And he had a severe injury, and the person that hit him had the minimum limits, and he didn't understand that you can't take your liability coverage and use it. You have to have underinsured coverage. And then we see gap coverage is very important too. Some banks and finance companies require you to buy gap coverage when you buy a used vehicle or a newer vehicle. But if you're not required to buy it anyway if you can get it, because gap insurance protects you if somebody totals your car and you owe more than it's worth. You've got gap insurance, you're going to be okay.
Absolutely. And it doesn't have to be complicated, because you're there to answer those questions. People can request the book, and they can get in touch with you, Richard Smith, by calling 300hurt or visiting 300hurt.com. Your areas of expertise over there at Smith Injury Law, tell us what you handle and what you don't.
Well, we handle all injury cases, workers' compensation, auto accidents, trucking accidents, anything of that nature. We also handle Social Security disability claims. And I'm licensed in North Carolina and South Carolina. Been practicing law since 1987 in South Carolina, I think since 1991 in North Carolina. So we have it all covered, and we're ready to help anybody that needs help. If you're hurt in an accident, give us a call, 300hurt. We're here all the time to help you.
Great. Well, we always look forward to talking to you. We love your insight, and we will see you again soon.
Thank you, Marty.